Hi, welcome to the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast. My name's James Harvey, and I'm the programme leader of a brand new acting degree in York, created in partnership with ALRA, the Academy of Live and Recorded Arts. It's called the BA in Acting for Stage and Screen, ALRA endorsed. More on that in a bit. The idea of this podcast is that I'll be interviewing loads of successful professionals within the theatre, TV and film industries. Lots of actors, but also people working in other areas of the industry too. Directors, writers, producers and so on. Through chatting with my guests, I want to find out about their careers, their methods, and to get an honest insight into what it's like working professionally in stage and screen. I hope you enjoy the pod. And if you're someone who wants to train professionally as an actor, then take a look at our course. Follow us on Instagram at York College BA Acting and go to our webpage to find out more. You can apply on UCAS course code BA45. We're auditioning this year and we start teaching in September 2021. Maybe you'll be with us. I'll give you some more information on the degree at the end of the pod. But for now, I hope you enjoy this episode of the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast. Welcome to this episode of the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast. Today's guest is the actor, writer and director Duncan Macinnes. Duncan's had a wide-ranging career, appearing most recently as a guest lead in the BBC's long-running Doctors, on stage at Hull Truck as Laurence in Abigail's Party, and has worked on loads of new work up and down the country, including his own play, Dagger Lane, currently being developed with involvement from Cast Doncaster and Hull Truck. So a good northern lad. Duncan, welcome to the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I mentioned at the top of the show in my introduction your appearance in Doctors. I didn't describe your character. He was a nasty piece of work, wasn't he?
Spoiler alert. Yes, he was. I was very fortunate pre-lockdown to I've got the job guest lead Sean Laurence in Doctors, and he is not a particularly nice character, and it was a joy to be able to play someone like that, because I think the whole idea behind that particular episode is that your enemies come with smiles, and they're not like them. That your enemies are who you think they are. Yeah. And listeners can't see my face, but I guess the vast majority of my career has been spent playing nice people.
Yeah, if you can imagine, listeners, well, you will have a photo of Duncan to gaze at when you're listening to this. But if you can imagine a sort of preternaturally young smiley pixie, that's probably where you should be thinking. But just to expand on that a little bit. Do you want to give a bit of context, because we're sort of hedging around what this character Sean Laurence was?
Yeah. He's a driving instructor, but he uses his power with his female examinees. He's a driving examiner basically, but he uses his power to and in order to sexually coerce his examinees in the car, and it's not divulged. That's not. I mean, I'm probably in danger of spoiling that particular episode. But it is not because I'm in it, I'm biased, but it is a particularly good episode. I was asked it was a really good sort of tip for anyone who is interested in playing characters that are completely different to them, is to play the actual opposite, because the text does all the work for you. So I was asked by the director to sort of just to play the antithesis of that scene, which was a great piece of you don't get much direction when you're in.
That's a great, very pertinent piece of direction, and as you say, in telly, you don't tend to go into, unless you're very lucky, kind of the detailed character breakdowns that you might in theatre. But yeah, to play what you wouldn't expect, because otherwise, for a one-off character like this, you in quite a danger, presumably, of being cliched, playing a caricature of the dubious morality, rather than finding the greater depth of the person, right?
That's very true. I would totally agree with that. And and it's about not playing the end of the scene and not playing the end of the episode. So if you're wandering around in a Machiavellian in a metaphorical Machiavellian cape and twirling moustache, people are instantly going to they're going to draw their own conclusions, right? And if enough people draw enough conclusions, one's going to be right. So you don't want that to happen. So you want an element of mystery.
Yeah, because the jeopardy of that episode is the girl who's accusing him lying or not? Is he innocent? Yeah.
Yes, is he innocent?
You've also appeared on Casualty a couple of times before, haven't you? So you've been paying your TV acting dues. What you talked about the kind of preparatory work.
Yeah, one of the biggest pieces of advice is that it's not smaller acting; it's just closer, and you are still required to do the same amount of work, but you present it in a different way, and by that I mean you think it. The camera is very much a mind reader. Let's talk about the two that there are. Theatre and camera work are almost separate disciplines in a way. You approach the characters in the same way, but the actual action with theatre, you're telling a story with your whole body, your voice, and your face. With telly and film, it's about. I'll say this. I find film and theatre very similar because you're on a massive screen. And so to be able to put a light up on a big screen in a cinema it's just as important to be as energetic and as large as you can within the constraints of realism. But with telly, it's about returning to what's inside you and having those thoughts and feelings.
That's really interesting.
And having them.
Really interesting. I'd not thought myself about the distinction that way. Obviously, you think screen acting, don't you? Or obviously you don't.
Yeah.
Theatre acting and screen acting, but actually the correlation between the way an audience receives cinema and theatre is very different to TV. And as you say, the possibilities of scale in a big cinema are different to a small telly in the corner of a room.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I was given a piece of advice when I was very young, starting out in acting, by a director, and he said, to a child in the late 80s, this is actually quite new and radical. He sort of said to me, think of acting or act being short for actual. So think of it as, don't think about and this refers to Shakespeare in a way, because this was a Shakespeare job I was doing. But he said that if you think of, don't think about the text, think about where your character is, who they are, and what they want. And if you've learnt the text, any director would consider you a versatile enough actor to be able to direct you. But if you feel like it's actually happening to you, then you're doing your job. Because what that does, what that transpires to the audience is a feeling in them. They're not interested. Audiences aren't interested in your feelings. They're interested in their own. And so if the less feeling you put into a work and have those emotions and tactics happen by accident, the more the audience will feel and the more they will connect with the performance.
Such a vital thing for actors to absorb that, isn't it? That it's not that. Obviously, the old method acting kind of ideology is very useful in lots of ways, but certainly in theatre, it's not about you feeling it. It's about conveying emotions and thoughts to an audience to enable them to have that experience.
Oh yeah, I totally agree, because I said the audience is the other character.
Mm-hmm.
The audience, otherwise, where's their lean forward moment? Where's their moment where they go, oh, I see, I feel, I felt that before. I feel what he's feeling or she's feeling. I'm now connected. So that doesn't happen overnight. When you start out as an actor, you have I make no bones about it or apology about it. You have a bit of an agenda as an actor. You go, I want to be good at this. I want to work a little for a long time. I want to have this as a career. But slowly over time, you start to realize that it just isn't all about you. It's about everybody, and certainly theatre, but like film and TV and theatre, they're all the campfire. They're still the campfire that we tell our stories around, and we tell stories to generate an emotion in other people, not an emotion in ourselves.
Absolutely, that's the aim. Let's stay on the path of discussing stage work. Well, you're a very deep gentleman. Let's. I want to talk about the last time I saw you on stage, which was as Laurence in the very contemporary Hull Truck production of Abigail's Party. Why don't you tell the listeners what made this production a bit different? There was a specific production agenda to this Abigail's Party, wasn't there? So do you want to talk a bit about that for those that may not have been aware of the production?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Hull Truck had been appointed an Arts Council changemaker in Amanda Huxtable, and the changemaker is the changemaker program is a wonderful thing that the Arts Council developed, and it was sort of used to kind of promote and inject all these wonderful institutions with a more representative sort of racial ecology and diversity within both in the infrastructure and in the kind of plays and literature that is within the building, which I think is just a fantastic thing. And Abigail's Party was the play that Amanda chose to direct as her sort of changemaker centerpiece. And it was the first time that this play has ever been made with some Jamaican characters in it. And it was, and I knew this when I went in. I knew this when I went in for the audition, and so I was really excited. A lot of my work as an actor, and subsequently a lot of my work as a writer and director has been about diversity, and has been about creating a more representative kind of representation on stage. Of a representation of the types of people that exist in our country, which is what it needs to be.
And so with Abigail's Party, this was ripe for that, because in the original incarnation of it, there's a real thematic undercurrent of class conflict, and in this new imagining of it, that is still present, but with the additional tension of racial conflict produced by the casting of actors of colour.
Oh yes, definitely, and it's we didn't change a hair of the script. There's not a whisper of anything. It was just merely by casting two incredible actors in those parts that we were able to drag this play into the now. And there's a really amazing scene where my character Laurence gets absolutely blasted on whiskey and can't stop himself, and this is where he becomes Empire. Where someone can really turn the sort of the temperature of the room really down and kind of really mention something that is just completely horrible. And he says to Sue, a relatively sort of monosyllabic character throughout the whole show, played brilliantly by Rebecca Charles, a wonderful actor. He turns to her and he says, "Have you not noticed a change in the area, Sue?" And she says, "Well, I don't know what you mean. You do think the tone of the area has gone down?" And it's very direct, because he glances at Tony and Angela. Tony played brilliantly by a wonderful actor called Daniel Ward, and Angela played by Annie Nelson. Both wonderful actors. And he looks at them, and they're both deathly silent. And you could feel the audience. You can feel like the intake of air from the audience, and just going, "Oh, he's saying it. he's actually saying it, and it was a very palpable feeling. And I've not seen I've other productions of Abigail's Party have been absolutely fantastic, brilliant shows. But I've not seen that before. I've not felt that before, and to have been, I was almost in a way quite disgruntled that I was in it. But I wasn't
You
in
wish
the
you'd been
audience
able
for
to see
football.
it. Yeah,
I
no,
was
it was
able to see
powerful. Well, I
it,
can tell you, as I was there on one of the performances, it was very powerful. Yeah, very unsettling.
very unsettling. And there were loads of moments like that. There were loads of moments in the show that Amanda and us actors had orchestrated, and the relationship between Laurence and Beverly Beverly was played absolutely amazingly by a wonderful actor named Catherine Bennett Fox. And it was just a very special show. I was so lucky to have been able to have done that.
You were also a couple of years earlier. You were part of the European touring production of the Life and Death of Martin Luther King. So, as you say, more work that has diversity at its heart, and of course, a huge relevance to our cultural discourse right now. You played a composite character, Jack Nader. Do you want to just describe what that experience was like, being a part of that production?
Yeah, it was great. I'm glad you asked me about that. I really loved that show. It was they auditioned us in London, but it was actually a German theatre company run by a British artist named Paul Stebbings, brilliant director and a brilliant process. And the play was centered around the relationship between a friendship between Martin Luther King and how you say a composite character, and a mixture of all these different reporters in one man. And it was set in America at the time of the civil rights movement, of course. And it was a piece that was really close to my heart because it was done wonderfully, and it was done with a Brechtian sort of air. So there was very little set, if anything, there was no set, and hints of costume and there was a little bit of costume, but there was lots of direct address to the audience as well, which I really loved. I've never really done anything like that before. So
it's more of a kind of continental European history behind that production style, as you say, a bit of Brechtian influence there. And
oh yeah, definitely. And there's a rich theatre culture in Europe, and we went all over Europe. We went to Germany and France, and then Lithuania, and to Austria as well. And it was an amazing time to travel. And that's a wonderful thing to be able to. One of the parts of these jobs is to travel with work and to go where you've been invited, and to do it while you can. But also, it was telling just a really amazing story, and it was playing some amazing theatres in Europe.
What kind of a response did you get from your various audiences? Was it a noticeably different response depending on which countries you were in?
Yeah, there was actually. There was bits of there were moments. There are always moments in a show where you go, "Oh, we've either got them or we haven't." And with this one, it was right at the beginning. There's a gospel song, "Oh Freedom," and it's sung by the full company, and it starts off with one solo voice on stage, and it builds to a full company singing. And once you finish, if there is not if you can't hear anything, it builds to a crescendo, and it cuts out, and you can't hear a single shuffle or the awkward cough. You can't hear those in the audience. We've got him. And there were definitely lots and lots of moments like that. And there were moments where you just go, oh well, maybe we don't quite have them, but there are other opportunities to get them within framework of the show, because it doesn't, it's quite a sad story in the end. But it was by and large very, very well received.
Great. I mentioned earlier that you're also a playwright and director, Duncan. You've been developing your own play, Dagger Lane, for a few years now. Tell us about it. What's Dagger Lane about?
What is it about? Well, Dagger Lane is actually a place in Hull. It's actually a place near Victoria Dock in Hull, which is just sort of on the outskirts of the centre. And I'd always wanted to write a play about Hull. I love Hull, and it's got a very special place in my heart, and I always try and return to Yorkshire as much as possible, because I just kind of don't want to forget where I've come from. Sometimes in London, you just kind of you do your thing, and you can be in your own microcosm. And part of writing the reason why I wrote that play was to be able to spend more time in the north.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, one way you could do that is come up and deliver a masterclass on the new BA Acting for Stage and Screen ALRA endorsed course, if you like.
I would be more than happy to do that, mate.
Fantastic. Locked in. Right, you heard him. He's coming.
Tell me when. Getting rid of me will be a problem. Just tell me when. No, I wrote this play because I've done a lot of repertory theatre work, where particularly at Nottingham, the Nottingham Theatre Royal, where it's such great training ground, because you've got like 5 scripts and you learn them all in 4 weeks. So you're learning, you're doing like the first script, and they're all like murder thrillers. So you're learning one script, and you go up, and then you're learning another script whilst you're playing in the evening. So it's a great summer stock job that they don't really exist these days. And so I was very fortunate to be able to have done that.
Sounds like
an
occupational hazard of the 5 murder mysteries text might be accusing the the characters from one play in the wrong play.
Yes. Oh, there was plenty of that where you just kind of go, you go on stage, you go, which play? And and there's a real scary moment, and then muscle memory takes over, and you find yourself, you suddenly find that you are more equipped as an actor than you think you are. And I think repertory theatre is a really good way of convincing actors that they are enough. They have enough resources within themselves and enough brain power to be able to make distinction between that and the other play. But Dagger Lane was a play that I wanted to write about essentially the state of our country, and without being a state of the nation play. There were plenty enough writers that do that really, really well. And I wanted to write a play about forgetfulness and our selective amnesia. And so Dagger Lane is about an ex-police officer with dementia, a particular type of dementia that forces his past to come back very vividly. And what's happening in his house at the minute is that these characters from his past are coming back. And what eventually transpires is that he's trying to solve a murder. It's a murder that happened in the 50s. And he's going back into his memory, using his dementia to go back into his memory to figure out why his West Indian best friend was killed and framed for a murder they didn't commit. So we go on a journey with this character and his carer. And I'm really pleased with it. I'm really jazzed about doing it. And there's
it sounds like I can't wait to see it. It sounds fascinating.
Thank you. I think it's it's had a long incubation process. I was writing it I was actually developing it just before I got the Martin Luther King job. And at Stratford East, it came at a time when my father passed away, and my mum sort of said to me, "Don't just take any work. Take work that matters. That matters the most to you." And so I did what my mum told me to do, and it was
usually wise.
Made work. Wise, my mum. Well, very wise. My mum just sort of gave me this advice, and I sort of, I'm going to create work as well. I'm going to make the leap from essentially begging for employment to giving it. And so we developed it at Theatre of Stratford East as part of the Scratch Night. And then I sort of let it rest for a while whilst I got on with acting. And then it only takes one person to go, what were you doing? What were you writing? You were writing an idea, and we didn't hear the full extent of it. To make me go, oh, right, I better start writing it because this is a really good idea. People are asking about it. And so I did the Martin Luther King job. And whilst I was writing out in Munich, where we were rehearsing every day for the Martin Luther King job, I also wrote to the Peggy Ramsey Foundation. Now, if anyone doesn't know who the Peggy Ramsey Foundation is, Peggy Ramsey was an incredible literary agent, mainly for playwrights, and she was. It was almost anyone who's anyone in British playwriting was sort of represented by her, and she posthumously was a foundation was set up to support writers, and it's basically for writers that just need to find the time to write, need to clear a block of time in their lives to write. So I wrote to them, and they wrote to me back when I came home from touring with all my things in a knotted hanky like Dick Whittington. I came home to this letter on my door, a letter from the Peggy Ramsey Foundation saying we'd like to give you some funding to sit and write.
What a
so
thrill.
I sat and wrote it.
What a
It was
thrill.
great, and I sat and wrote it, and then I was able to using that, and this is key in the journey of it. I was using the funding to get more funding because I really wanted to make this job work, and so I used that to apply to the Arts Council for funding for an R&D, and we were able to go to Hull Truck and the Cast Theatre in Doncaster to research and develop the project.
And that R&D process has been overseen from a directorial point of view by Ricky Beadle-Blair, with whom you've worked a lot. So Ricky's a multi-talented sort of actor, director, designer, dancer, choreographer, the list goes on. You've worked with him a lot. As I say, how do you enjoy working with him, and what's he brought to the R&D process for Dagger Lane particularly?
Oh, I love working with Ricky. I've worked with Ricky a lot over the years, and I've worked with Ricky on new writing. I've worked with Ricky at Theatre of Stratford East. I was part of an amazing play that was a hit called Bashment. It was about the roots of homophobia in hip hop and ragga and bashment music. It was an incredible play, and we did that at Theatre of Stratford East for one season, and then it got invited back to run again at Stratford East. And I love working with Ricky because I just trust Ricky. I trust his eye on things and his logical eye. He's not only, he's a fantastic actor. He's a brilliant director and knows how to tease a performance out of people. But he also has a fantastic eye for dialogue and plot and structure as a writer himself. And so working with him on Dagger Lane has been revolutionary. I've learned a lot from working with him and working with his writing partner and publishing partner and dramaturg, John Gordon. Both of those are like a dynamic duo. What they don't know about how to structure a play the way you want it, because they'll say to you, like, do you feel good about this scene? And you have to answer honestly. Sometimes you go no. Sometimes you'll say, well, yes, I really do. So they'll say, well, how can we turn it into a scene that turns on itself? And by that I mean there's a 3-act structure within the scene itself. And so I've learned a lot in that respect. Or otherwise, sometimes they're very honest and go, that scene does not need to be need to make it into the play. Kill your darlings. David Mamet talks about that quite a lot in his play, his book, The 3 Uses of the Knife, I think it's called. And he and so they, there are 2 types of playwrights. I think certainly in England, there are actors who want to write a play to give themselves a part. or there are playwrights who devote themselves to the art of writing. And I kind of think I'm both, because I've written stuff that I'm not in. But in this instance, I was, because I'm in Dagger Lane, because I'm greedy. But I'm in it.
What role are you playing?
Actors, I am playing the younger self of the older police officer who's trying to sort out the crime. I'm playing young George. There's George Young. that's his name. And I am playing a play on words. I'm playing young George.
That's nice.
Not
That's a bit delicious, though.
Actors will write wonderful moments that don't serve the plot, that don't move the drama forward, that don't really do anything. And so the vast majority of my education is making the distinction between me, the actor, writing a really good moment that doesn't do anything, or cutting that out and using the cut as momentum to propel the play forward. And that has been the biggest learning experience, being able to cut whole swathes of scenes. I was up all night last night. I cut 30 pages of the play last night. Yeah, that's a lot, and that's a lot of fat to trim off the show. And so it's heaps better.
Right.
You're playing and that's a real education to be able to relinquish that kind of what's the word, preciousness of your own words.
Yeah. Oh, you can feel the excitement emanating off you about this project. I can't wait to see it. I'd like to finish by asking you if you have any further advice or words of wisdom for young aspiring actors, maybe writers even, out there who might be listening. So something perhaps about the craft of acting, maybe something about getting into the business.
Yeah, I would say probably two. I definitely think to have a career, a successful career, and to have a successful working life as an actor, it requires honesty at every level. Not starting from where you wish you were starting from, but starting from where you are. And that takes sort of a look at where you are currently, sort of going, where do I go now? And that may mean writing a letter, that may mean practicing acting and practicing doing self-tapes. But I also think certainly when you're working as an actor, to come into work as a blank canvas, to come into work with ideas, because I think directors really like that. I think directors really like strong ideas, even if they don't make it into the work itself as a final project. It is about, and you get those ideas from listening. You get those ideas from eye contact too. You get those ideas from connecting with your other actors, and that requires honesty. So it's all about. I essentially think it's all about honesty. And I also think that we live in a self-starting business now. Certainly in this era. So learn the craft of writing. Learn to be able to write yourself a really good part, because if those doors aren't opening, then it's sort of up to you to build a door to be able to knock on in the first place.
But keep knocking on those doors, whatever you do. Don't give up. Oh, Dunk, that's been a fabulous interview. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. My thanks to Duncan Macinnes. As I say, a fascinating conversation today. And thank you for listening to the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast. Please download and subscribe on Spotify, Anchor, or Pocket Casts, with more platforms coming soon. See you next time.
Before you go, I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about our new acting training degree, the BA Acting for Stage and Screen ALRA endorsed. This is a unique drama school informed training delivered at the York College University Centre, and is suitable for students who are determined to become professional actors working in today's theatre, film and TV industries. It's unique in a few ways. Firstly, because this course is created with and endorsed by ALRA, the Academy of Live and Recorded Arts. ALRA are one of the UK's very top drama schools, and bring with them a national and international reputation for excellence in higher education drama training. Our close partnership with such a well-respected drama school will be invaluable for our training professionals. Another way we're unique is that our course is a 2-year accelerated degree. So you can achieve your degree, become a professionally trained actor, and enter the acting profession more quickly and with fees of only £8,640 a year. This is because we're really conscious that the overall cost of funding degree study has massively increased over recent years, and a 2-year accelerated programme will be vastly less expensive than the conventional 3-year drama training route, especially when you take into account living costs, fees over the lifetime of a course, and shorter time studying before entering the profession. It's a full honours degree with 26 hours of contact time per week, and a wide range of opportunities to perform and to network with industry professionals. If you decide at the end of the 2 years that you want to continue your studies, then there is the possibility of studying at master's level at ALRA. So if this sounds like the kind of place you can imagine yourself being, learning practically how to be an actor on both stage and screen, and getting loads of really meaningful performance experience, being seen by industry professionals, and maybe going on to do a master's at ALRA, or just getting into being a working actor quicker than your peers, then you need to apply to the BA Acting for Stage and Screen ALRA Endorse through UCAS, course code BA45. You'll be asked to audition with us, and if you're successful, we will work with you to make your experience an exceptional 2 years, which will set you on the course towards your future success. Keep following us on Instagram at York College BA Acting for exciting announcements throughout the year, and do keep listening and subscribe to the Acting for Stage and Screen podcast for more conversations with fantastic theatre, film and TV industry guests in the future.